Hi folks, welcome to your latest mwis planning outlook in association with Ellis Brigham. Now, it's a rather static weather pattern that continues for the rest of this week as high pressure stays centred toward the north of us. The main variation from day to day will be the height of an inversion level and the subsequent fog banks and low cloud banks, which will lift and fall a bit on the hills through the days ahead. In some places the sunshine will break through completely. Changes will develop though as we go towards the weekend, as an area of low pressure will drift up from the southwest, and that sets the scene for a more changeable outlook further into September. The charts for the next few days then sees high pressure still toward the northwest of us on Wednesday, and the familiar northeasterly drift will be producing a lot of cloud once again, and that will be producing some drizzly conditions, particularly in the morning across eastern hills, the Cheviots, the Pennines and Peak District, and a few pockets of drizzle across into Wales as well. That murk and low cloud will tend to lift a bit as the day goes on, so you may well get some breaks to higher tops across the Pennines with time on Wednesday, and early low cloud banks around the north of Scotland will also tend to lift and break. Best of the sunshine across the West Highlands once again. Now, just to give you a feel for overnight temperatures, now this is dawn on Thursday morning as an example, but it could be similar for any of the nights taking you through towards the weekend. And where skies are clear, we'll be down into single figures overnight, and one or two spots in central parts of the Highlands could even dip down to a 2 or a 3 Celsius, so some rather cool conditions in some glens overnight. High pressure is still around into Thursday, and easterly wind is still brisk across Wales and the South Pennines, light winds for Scotland and the far north of England. Some low-level fog banks will be around in the morning. On Thursday, it looks as though the inversion has come down again a little bit, so most of any fog or low cloud is confined somewhat lower down on the hills, so most of the higher hills and mountains will be above an inversion. Pennine areas might just struggle for a while, but again it will lift and break up. Best of sunshine across more western parts of England and Wales. And I think for Scotland that sunshine should come through pretty readily with just some patchy cloud onwards into the afternoon. For Friday, some complications in the forecast. It doesn't look as though a great deal changes, but there is just a little bit more moisture just recirculating around the high, which might just fill in some of the fog and the low cloud. And as the high just begins to weaken somewhat, that can just drift a little bit higher upslope for a time. It may well be that higher mountains stay above an inversion, but just watch for some banks of low cloud, some pockets of drizzle again in places where that cloud just thickens. But the best of the sunshine and the bright conditions typically in the west. Lighter winds for most places, but still maybe a bit gusty across the Welsh Mountains and the Peak District for a time. By Saturday, we start to see some frontal systems coming back onto the map from the southwest. High pressure, though, is still in charge toward the northeast of us. The wind flow is an east or a southeasterly, with greatest risk of some low cloud or fog banks across eastern hills once again, whereas western areas fare best for sunshine and cloud breaks. Northern Scotland also, I think, doing a bit better at this stage, as the wind here even is a bit more toward the south, so a bit different to where we've been in recent days, and should be a pleasantly warm feeling day given any sunshine. Could be a bit blustery in places though, as that southeasterly just strengthens through the day. We are just encroaching that front into Wales from the southwest, which might just bring some patchy rain with time. The exact detail of that uncertain at this distance. By the time we get to Sunday, that area of low pressure and various tangled fronts are trying to encroach a bit further northwards though, so some rain is likely at times across Wales. It may be a rather persistently damp day with some areas of low cloud pretty extensive over the hills, and that could push northwards into the Peak District and Pennines as well. Again, some uncertainty just how far north these fronts go. Strengthening easterly wind is likely to be in existence across much of England and Wales. Further north though, somewhat lighter winds and a greater likelihood of staying dry, with the best of the sunshine across west and northern Scotland. Eastern regions, though, in the Highlands and down to the Cheviots, may well be rather clagged in with low cloud filling in from the North Sea. So keep an eye on those details as we head into the weekend, as there is likely to be a degree of uncertainty on how far north that rain does get. This is the situation then. We've got our area of high pressure that has shuffled eastwards into Scandinavia. Low pressure then lies just to the west and southwest of us. And what's also emerging just on the far west of this map across eastern Canada is what's left of Hurricane Ida. Now it's transitioned into a post-tropical system and an ordinary mid-latitude depression by the stage, a typical area of low pressure then over the northern hemisphere, and what that will do as we go onwards into next week is drift up towards Greenland and Iceland. It does present though some complications in the forecasting sequence for our part of the world, because the knock-on effect downstream could be that various bits of front fronts and a weak ridge of high pressure that just runs ahead of that could all complicate itself into our forecast early next week. So not really going to get clever with what that could exactly bring. I think a stop-start breakdown is the best description at this stage, in that there'll be some patchy rain and cloud in there at times, some drier, brighter spells as well, and maybe just the tendency towards something a bit more unsettled with time as those southwesterly winds strengthen. So I think some rain and some wind will get in from the Atlantic before too long. Also watching another tropical feature which is currently over the mid-Atlantic just on the bottom left of this map, and that also could get into the story further down the line and create some additional complications. We're looking though at the Atlantic jet stream becoming stronger as we head towards the 9th or 10th of September, say, so I think some weather systems barrelling in from the Atlantic look more likely as time goes on, so some spells of wind and rain as we go deeper towards the middle of September. So some changes are afoot. We shall monitor those as we go forwards. That's your planning outlook for today in association with Ellis Brigham. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.